Planting white sage in your garden can add so much, from bringing pollinators in, adding beautiful aromatic fragrance, to also making an actual connection with the ground that we live on here in Southern California. I'm Suzanne from Rogers Gardens, and today we're going to be discussing a sage in every garden. White sage, or Salvia apiana, is a native to the southwestern United States and Mexico, but it grows primarily in the coastal sage scrub habitats. White sage is a keystone plant in the native plant environment. If you remove a keystone plant, you remove all of the important pollinators and all of the benefits that it brings to the environment. You're going to be removing honeybees and carpenter bees and hummingbirds and birds and all the animals that utilize this plant for their lives. Growing white sage in your garden is so easy. We sell these plants here. We have them in small 4-inch, 1-gallon, and 5-gallon containers. It's basically just getting a lot of very, very loose gravelly soil. So if you have really nice soil in your garden, which we all hope to have, add some cactus mix, add some pumice. Make sure that that water will trickle away from the leaves of this plant. Plant it in the ground, make sure that it's even with the soil line right here. You're going to water it maybe once to get it going in November, maybe once every 2 weeks. November is the best time to plant white sage or most native plants, so just keep that in mind. Try not to plant them anytime past maybe February. So you're going to take your plant, put it in the soil that's very, very light, loose and gravelly. Again, water it maybe once a week for a couple of weeks just to get it established, and then maybe once a month. In the summer, when it's very, very, very hot, it's okay. The white sage can take it, and you're still only going to water it once a month. After you plant it, it'll slowly start growing. The roots are going to get going because native plants grow more in the winter. They're going to send out roots. They're going to send out shoots. And then eventually this plant will become probably 4 or 5 feet tall. It will flower in the summer, and then after it flowers, you can cut those blooms back. That's going to be kind of the end of the summer. And then if you want to prune the plant back, you're going to do it in February. So once your plant is large enough, and after you've planted a plant about this big, you're going to wait 3 or 4 years before you're going to harvest it. And harvesting is something we'll talk about in just a minute, but you should never cut more than 25 or 30% of the plant back, and we'll discuss how to do that in just a moment. So at this point, it's important to talk about the poaching problem and white sage. It is rampant. White sage is being taken from so many places, from indigenous people's native lands, and we cannot really abide by that any longer. It is going to potentially become endangered, and when you buy it at a store, unless it says sustainably farmed, it has been poached. There are a couple of reasons why this is a bad thing. Here they are right now. The people who poach this are basically hired by other people to come and steal plants from another person's land. That's bad. Also, these people could possibly be arrested, but no one else takes responsibility for this, just the people who are caught poaching. They are shoving the plants into large bags where it will sit for days and possibly mold. And then that, of course, is not very good for people who are inhaling the smoke. And then, of course, the indigenous people are having their culture appropriated, which is a really bad thing. Another reason you might want to consider not using poached white sage is because the Gabrielino or Tongva indigenous tribes here were forbidden from using it for their cultural practices. You might want to just think that it can't really give a blessing if it's unethically sourced. So white sage is under threat from so many places and so many reasons. There is, of course, development, there is drought, there is climate change, there is poaching, and there are wildfires. So it's important to think about, again, why not just grow your own? It's so easy. So when you're harvesting things like white sage or mushrooms or whatever you might be out foraging for, it's really important to utilize the honorable harvest guidelines, and you can look those up. They're just really wonderful for keeping things in check when you're in your own garden. Keep in mind that you want this plant to be growing for a super long time, and these plants will grow for a very, very long time if you honorably harvest them. So some of the tenets of honorable harvesting are knowing the environment, asking yourself and the plant, is this a good idea? Sometimes the environment will let you know. The answer is no, don't take this. Also, you want to never take the first plant you see and never take the only plant, which may be the last plant you see. Only take what you need, and if you have a little bit too much, share it with someone. You always want to respect the environment around it and make sure that the plant will grow sustainably for many, many years to come. So of course we want you to plant white sage because it is a beautiful plant. It is so aromatic and so wonderful, and yes, you can make your own teas or breath freshener with it, but consider this, so many cultures around the world have their own cleansing traditions, and so while we don't want to utilize all of them, just keep in mind that maybe your culture has a cleansing tradition that might be more appropriate for you to use. There is kind of Lunar New Year. That is a wonderful time for cleaning and cleansing. There is frankincense and myrrh within certain religions, and that is a cleansing tradition. There is Persian New Year, Nowruz. You want to use that to clean and to start the new year fresh. So don't be constrained with what might be popular culture. Use what feels good to you and feels right to you. So thank you for joining me to learn about white sage, or Salvia apiana. Here at Rogers Gardens, we're going to be having a promotion, A Sage in Every Garden, where we're giving each home one sage. It's going to have this little sticker on it. You're going to have all the information that you need to be successful with growing your sage, and we hope that you'll join us again soon.